The song that closes side one here today, it was destined to be the focal cut or a focal cut on the album. And you, as well as George Martin, clearly rose to the occasion. The strings absolutely recall the Beatles' middle year balladry, of course. And the lyric is written from a perspective that you'd never really broached before. Tell us that.
Well, when John died, it was so difficult. It was difficult for everyone in the world because he was such a loved character and such a crazy guy, you know, that he was so special. And so it had hit me so much so that I couldn't really talk about it. And I remember getting home from the studio on the day that we'd heard the news he died and turning the TV on and seeing people say, well, John Lennon was this, and what he was this. And I remember meeting him then, and it was like, I don't know, I can't be one of those people. I can't just go on TV and say what John meant to me. It was just too deep. It's just too much. I couldn't put it into words. So I wasn't really able to do that. But a while later, once the emotions had sort of settled a little bit, I was in a building that would become my recording studio. This is before we'd put the studio in. And there were just a couple of little empty rooms upstairs in there. So I found a room and just sat on the wooden floor in a corner with my guitar and just started to play the opening chords to Here Today. And I just thought, well, what could I say? What would I say if I could say anything? And so, you know, I just tried to capture some of John's, I don't know what you'd call it, like where you'd say one thing, he'd say another. You know, I could say, I'd say, I knew you well. But you might say, well, no, you didn't. And that's very John, you know. So I was trying to capture that idea. And so most of it was exactly what I wanted to say. I think there's a couple of lines in there that I don't think he would have said in retrospect. But basically, it was me just trying to remember my life with John and try and think, you'd say that, or... You know, but what about the night we cried? And, you know, those kind of things. So they're like memories of our time together came flooding back. So I just put them into the song and didn't really try and work it out too much. Just thought, I'm going to just say this, and if it doesn't work, I'll maybe change it later or something. But I didn't. It pretty much all just flooded out. And the night we cried, that was to do with a time when we were in Key West, down in Florida. And for some reason, I think it was like a hurricane, something had been delayed and we couldn't play for a couple of days. So we holed up in a little motel. And in those days, Key West wasn't really developed. Now I hear it's like really quite a big deal. Then it was like just a few motels, you know, and we were in one of them. So what would we do? Well, we'd have a drink and we would get drunk. We didn't have to play. So we did that night. We got drunk and started to get kind of emotional. You know, oh, you were great I love that. You know, it all came out, you know. So, but it was lovely. So, I mean, you know, and then we threw up. You know, it was like, but on the way to that, there was a lot of soul searching. You know, we told each other a few truths. You know, well, I love you. I love you, man. Oh, I love that you said that. I love it. And we opened up. So that was kind of special to me. I think that was really one of the only times that ever happened.
Yeah.
Most of the other times you were working or traveling and you'd be in a circumstance where you couldn't get down like that. But this one night in Key West, we really kind of opened up to each other. And it was always a very special night to me because of that. And, you know, we opened up so much that we started crying together, you know. And so it was a great thing, great memory for me, still is to this day, you know, where we actually got to be real and we bonded even more than we bonded just by being in a group. So, yeah, all of those kind of things I put into the song. And when I'd done it, I felt quite proud of it. And I thought, well, you know what we should do is I should ask George if he's interested in putting strings on this. So we did, and as you say, you know, it makes it very Beatley, because it's me, it's George Martin, talking about John.